Amelia. Everyone's about to have an important talk. So be a good girl and wait in your usual spot, okay? With this, young Amelia was shoved into the hollow of the great tree deep within the forest, the so-called princess room, which was one of the things in life she wasn't particularly happy about. In the village in the forest where the elves lived in secret, Amelia grew up loved by everyone. All the adults adored her, and would indulge her little whims without the slightest complaint. While the fact that she rarely got to play with other children made her feel a little lonely, she had to follow her instructions. Rules like that must be firmly kept, that was what her foster mother, Fortuna, had told her. Fortuna was the one who took care of Amelia in the elven village, a person who was like a mother to her. She had silver hair and amethyst eyes just like Amelia, but she'd cut her hair short since she found long hair too much of a hassle, and the sharpness of her eyes set them far apart from each other. Amelia could no longer remember when she first started living with Fortuna. All she knew was that Fortuna wasn't her real mother, but a blood relative somewhere in the vicinity of an aunt. Fortuna, I'm your father's younger sister, you know. My brother. Your dad and your mom are busy right now and can't be here with you. So they've asked me to look after you. Fortuna's explanation came as a great shock to Amelia. But it wasn't a shock in the negative sense. Even though she kept insisting that she wasn't her real mother, as far as Amelia was concerned, Fortuna was undoubtedly her mother. And on top of having mommy Fortuna, she had a father and a real mother as well. Normally, people only had two parents, a mom and a dad, but Amelia had a dad and two moms. How lucky she is, she thought. Fortuna, your silver hair is from my brother. And the color of your eyes too, it really runs in the family. Your gentle face is from your mother though. Everyone on our side has scary-looking eyes. Amelia, but I like your eyes, Mommy Fortuna. Fortuna's eyes were usually intense and severe. And occasionally, when Amelia made her mad, the sharpness of her eyes would intensify, causing Amelia to shudder tremendously. But aside from those times when she got angry, Fortuna was Amelia's ideal mother, and Amelia received her sharp eyes with loving emotions. As a mother, Fortuna was strict but kind. Although the young Amelia sometimes thought the rigid discipline she imposed was a bit excessive, even at her age, Amelia understood that it was all with her best interests in mind. Her discipline was never accompanied by violence, and she never scolded Amelia for anything unreasonable. Even on the rare occasions when her scoldings made Amelia cry, they would reconcile the same night and fall asleep in each other's arms. Fortuna, if there's one thing I really regret, it's that I wasn't kinder to people. If I had realized that sooner, my brother wouldn't have waited till the end to rely on me. A loneliness would rise on Fortuna's face whenever she said really. This left such a strong impression on Amelia's mind that she made a special effort to imitate it. Except she would use it not when she was sad, but when she was happy and laughing. Perhaps it was the shallow wish of a child to paint over the memories of her mother's loneliness and sadness by using it for something uplifting and joyous instead. Amelia, Mo. So boring. Back to where our story began, Amelia was shut up in the princess room alone. She didn't like being called princess very much, but since that was what everyone in the village called her, she had grown used to it by now. Because she knew they weren't making fun of her, but were saying it with affection, she never requested that they stop. But the fact that they had stuck that moniker on the room she was being shut up in was one of young Amelia's few dissatisfactions in life. Amelia, what could everyone be doing? If Amelia was shut inside the princess room, it meant there must be visitors from outside the village. Quite a large group of outsiders would occasionally enter the forest to visit the hidden elven community. And while no one ever told Amelia this, she could always sense it on her skin. Actually, this sixth sense of sorts was due to Amelia subconsciously interfering with the microspirits in the forest which informed her of those people's presence, but Amelia didn't know this at the time. Hugging her knees in the narrow room, Amelia usually passed her time flipping through the pages of the book she'd been given, or playing with the shabby doll Fortuna had made for her. Although she had been told that those were secret talks that only adults could understand, there seemed to be plenty of children present as well, which only added to Amelia's dissatisfaction. She mustn't tell lies or keep secrets, that was what Mommy Fortuna had taught her. But wasn't it wrong for Mommy Fortuna and the adults to lie and keep secrets from Amelia? Every 10 days or so, Amelia would be stuffed inside the princess room. Though Amelia wasn't happy about it, she wasn't so naughty as to let it show on her face. But by now, she had already lost count how many times she had been put in here, not to mention that she just had a fight with Fortuna the night before. Most of all, she forgot to bring the doll that Fortuna had made for her, having left it in her bedroom, which proved to be the decisive blow. "Amelia, I want to go outside." It was but a passing murmur that no one was supposed to hear. But, while Amelia didn't say it to anyone she knew, those who knew her had heard it loud and clear. "Amelia?" Inside the hollow, in the room lit by the white glow of lagumite ores, there now mingled floating spots of pale blue phosphorescence. She blinked as the sudden gushes of light captivated her attention. Dancing before her eyes, the lights kept the young girl's curiosity captive, as they migrated to a corner of the princess room where they disappeared as if sucked into the wall. "Amelia." Standing up, Amelia tottered to the spot where the lights had vanished. She was a little scared, but even hotter curiosity burned inside her chest. Standing before the wall that had sucked in the lights, Amelia reached out her hand as if to confirm the feel of the wood, and there, she found an opening just large enough for her little arm to fit through. Just now, the pale blue lights had escaped through that gap. The front door of the princess room was bolted from the outside and couldn't be opened from within. It was designed so that Amelia couldn't escape even if she wanted to. Thinking about it now, this treatment was definitely a bit too excessive to be considered normal, but Amelia, who took it for granted at the time, never questioned it. However, now that she had discovered the possibility of escaping the place that should have been impossible to escape, Amelia's heart vacillated between her curiosity and her mother's instructions. She wanted to know what everyone in the village was doing while she was gone. Mommy Fortuna had taught her to strictly follow her instructions, and Amelia needed to stay here in the princess room until Fortuna came back for her. But what if she tested out this escape route and, once she had a peek of what everyone was doing, sneaked back here? Besides, it was the adults who first broke the rule not to lie and keep secrets. If they broke one and Amelia broke one as well, then wouldn't they just be even? "Amelia." The little girl thought with all her might and came up with that little justification. Taking a closer look at the hole she had stuck her arm into, it was one of the gaps between the tree's tangled roots. If she put all her strength into it, she felt certain she could widen the gap, if only just a little. Hinging on that feeling, young Amelia pushed away at the roots to secure a space large enough for her to pass through. Sweat dripped from her brows, and mud soiled her clothes. There was no way she could tell Fortuna, "I didn't do anything now," but even so, the gap between the roots continued to grow until, at last, she succeeded in crawling outside. "Amelia, eh?" A strange sense of accomplishment rose in Amelia's chest as the outside breeze washed over her. Even though she had just done something that would earn her a scolding if she were found out, she still felt the compelling urge to run up to Fortuna and brag, "Ahem, I did it." Of course, Fortuna would certainly go up in flames if she did that, so Amelia quickly stopped herself before she could start running. Phew, crisis averted. But then again, Amelia thought, if she had followed her idiotic logic back then, gone to get praise from Fortuna, gotten vehemently scolded, cried and wailed and regretted it, and forgotten all about that gap in the tree roots, everything would have been so much better. Because if she had done that, she would never have set the subsequent tragedy in motion. But what was that tragedy? The question did not reach the young Amelia, who had just escaped the princess room, now triumphantly dashing towards where everyone should be. The realization that she was doing something naughty soon forced Amelia to sneak from cover to cover, and, thanks to the help of the micro-spirits, she got a vague sense of where everyone was. Before long, Amelia found everyone gathered in the village square. While, alongside them, she saw a group of people in strange black costumes. "Amelia." Amelia hid herself behind a large tree before nimbly climbing up its branches. Sometimes, when little Amelia was feeling mischievous, she'd scamper from tree to tree like a little animal to make the adults jump around to catch her. The acrobatics she learned from those activities now allowed her to watch over the conversation unseen. The population of the elven village numbered 40 in all. And it seemed all the adults and children, aside from Amelia, were gathered there. The Blackrobes were fewer in number, with only about 20 members. A few of them were in the middle of the assembly, participating in the discussion, while the rest were unloading luggage. The Blackrobes seemed to have come here on wagons, and as they transferred their cargo to the villagers' faces would brighten while bowing their heads. "We can't thank you enough for the care you've always shown us." "What are they doing? What are they talking about?" Wondering this, Amelia wanted to lean out to see, when she heard a voice as close as a whisper against her ear. She jerked back in surprise, but saw no one around who could have been the source of that voice. Nevertheless, that voice undoubtedly belonged to Fortuna. In fact, Fortuna was directly below Amelia, speaking with a black-robed figure who seemed to be the leader of the group. "Fortuna, thank you for procuring these supplies for us that are so hard to come by in the forest. We're glad for your help." "Robed man, you are too kind. It vexes us greatly that this is the only way we could repay you. We're always laying burdens on you, Fortuna-sama." "Fortuna, we could say the same as well." Amelia could clearly make out the contents of their conversation, and the wry smiles exchanged between them. Fortuna's gestures below her left no doubt that they were the ones talking this very moment. But somehow, it was as if Amelia's sense of hearing was amplified. This was actually the handiwork of the microspirits obeying Amelia's will, but naturally, the young Amelia did not notice their diligence. Standing in front of Fortuna was a man with bold features, garbed in a black robe. His muscular physique and stature made him stand out among the mostly slender elves. And so it was almost unimaginable that, despite his martial appearance, he would bow so low while interacting with Fortuna. Seeing such an imposing man showing such unreserved respect towards Fortuna filled the peaking Amelia with pride. To think that the amazing person making this big man grovel was actually her mother. "Robed man, now, I ask this every single time, but how is the seal?" Amelia was puffing up her chest in her somewhat misdirected pride, but that sentiment instantly dispersed the moment the man changed the subject. Such was the heaviness of the complex emotions imbued within that man's words. "Fortuna, I suppose I can't just laugh it off as you worrying too much. Rest assured, it's as stable as ever. There isn't even 1,000,000 to 1 chance it could come undone. I'd never be able to face my brother and sister-in-law otherwise." "Robed man, it's a terrible shame about your older brother and his wife." "Fortuna, my brother must certainly have been prepared. As for my sister-in-law, I'm not quite sure even now. But I do understand the weight of the responsibility entrusted to me. I don't intend to abandon it or treat it half-heartedly. I'm sure you feel the same?" "Robed man, I have no choice in the matter. I'm afraid it's not the same as the sense of duty and responsibility you bear, Fortuna-sama. Obsession, attachment. It'd be something along those lines." The man gave a breathy laugh as Fortuna watched him with a pained expression. All the while, the meaning of their little exchange completely eluded the present Amelia.